While we typically think of video as something that students consume independently outside of class to support their learning experience that might take place in class, increasingly we can become aware of the use of using video inside of class to create a differentiated experience, support a virtual rotation model, or just give kids the time and space to watch content back independently. Now, this doesn't mean that video can only be used in class. You can use the technique that I'll demonstrate here for a well-created video experience for students to use outside of class as well. And one of the things I recognize about using video in classrooms is that oftentimes we simply don't have the time and the capacity to create all of the original instructional content on our own. So what I'd like to demonstrate today is the ability for us to use existing content, video that others have already published on YouTube, but instead of simply providing that video in a link to students, here's the content to watch, and that's posted in the learning management system, what we can do is take that video and chop it down into much smaller pieces and also provide contextual video from the classroom teacher introducing, explaining, clarifying, or making sure the students are going to feel comfortable and confident when they're watching that video clip by another educator or another content creator. So what we're going to do is take advantage of Google Slides to build this whole experience. So first, I'll explain the layout here of this template, talk through the design of this, and then even demonstrate the process of including existing YouTube video and then adding shorter educator-created video clips to get students ready to watch that segment, comfortable and confident with this video experience. So let's get into it. You can see here we have a set of Google Slides. On slide 1, that's kind of the landing page for the experience. And you can put your title here, whatever the unit or the video title is called. And then in this particular design, I have 6 different parts to the video. You could absolutely modify this, add to it, make it shorter if you'd like to. Now, all of these boxes are clickable, and what they'll do is bring us to that section of the video. How I did that was I clicked on that box that I added. It's just a shape that I've added. And then I went to the linking option, and in this instance, I've linked this part 1 to the slide number 2, which is going to be part 1 of the video experience. You can also make the text clickable, highlight the text, go to the linking tool, and then simply link to the slide where you want students to be able to jump to that particularly. I'll get rid of that link. Let me just reset this text color. All right, so now that we have the linking down, let's take a look at the slide itself. So here's how I've laid it out. I like to use color coding to indicate to students that, this maybe all of the red content we're going to explore in week 1 or the first half of the unit, and all of the blue or green content we'll explore in the second week or the second half of the unit. So it's easy for students to have this visual navigation and this color coding strategy. Now, what you could also do is make each individual part a different color if you wanted to. I like to group it by like a shorter period of time. So you can see here, we have a space for the teacher to put their video, and we're going to use a tool called Record to Slides. We have a space for that existing YouTube content, and then I'll show you how to chop that content down. And then in this model, we have 3 student workspaces. It might be 3 reflections, 3 questions, 3 ideas that you want them to jot down when they're watching each segment. But again, you can customize that as well. You can minimize or even change that whole workspace if you'd like to. What I've also added is these kind of like numbered navigation tools. So when students open this, it feels really comfortable and consistent. So they know to go from teacher video to existing YouTube video to their workspace. And that's the kind of path and the flow that we want them to take. This kind of familiar layout, if we're to use it consistently, students won't be unsure of what the expectations are, what the experience is like. It becomes really consistent, and they can be comfortable just navigating, and then they can focus on the ideas, not how to navigate the space. So all I've done is duplicated this slide for part 2, part 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now let's head back up and grab a YouTube video. So for example, say that we're getting into a unit on the Russian Revolution in my history class, and here's the 15-minute video from Crash Course and John Green that I want the students to watch. What I'm going to do is copy the link to that video, head back to Google Slides, and then insert that video from a URL right onto the slide. We'll wait for that to load, and then we'll just dump that in. So I'm just going to resize this a bit to make it fit in this space. And there's the video that I want students watching that's already existing content. Now, what I'm also going to do is take that video, copy it, and then just paste it onto every other slide where they're going to watch that content. Now, back on slide 1, I'm going to tap on the video. And when we tap on format options on the top, it opens up this sidebar with the start and stop time. So I might say, okay, 15-minute video, I'll break it into 3 chunks. So I'll have this start at 0 and maybe run to the 5-minute mark. I'll just click out of that space, and then that's all set. And what you can see here is this little white dot indicates where it's going to stop automatically for the student. Let's go to the next slide. We tap on that video, and I know this is going to go from, say, 5:01 to the 10-minute mark. Oops, 10-minute mark. Just click off of that. I like to hit return. There, it's snapped right into place. And then we'll do this one more time. And I know I need to pick up at the 10:01 mark, and then we'll run it to the end of that video. There we go. Now, what I would obviously have to do is go back and watch these segments, determine exactly what I want the students to be able to know and understand, and what problems or prompts I want them to work on. And that would be obviously like the next step. We're going to cut that step out of it right now. But what I will show is how you can add teacher video to set the stage and provide a little bit of context for students. So the tool I'll use to do that is Record to Slides. It's a free Google Chrome extension. You can see this little blue icon here. That's Record to Slides. I'll tap on that blue icon, and it turns on my front-facing camera, and now I can hit record. So I hit record here, the green button. I'll hit that button again to stop, and then when I'm totally done, I'll hit OK, and that video will dump onto my slides. Notice the default settings are anyone in the domain, so this video will be open to your students. So here we go. Welcome to part 1 of the Russian Revolution video series. So what you'll notice when you're watching this first part, and this is where I'll stop and just talk to all of you, this is where you can provide a little bit of an overview, explain some of the key ideas that they're about to watch, maybe provide some clue or insight or guidance into what are the big takeaways or the ideas or the questions you want them to think about or consider. What you might also do is in the workspaces below, those 3 workspaces, is put the questions or ideas you want them to work with. You could even possibly add a timestamp of when those ideas are going to emerge if you wanted to do something like that. So this video is generally built here to welcome the student to the experience, clarify the focal point of watching this video segment, and then provide any clarification or guidance for things that might be mentioned in the video that you want them to really know and understand. When we're done, I'll just hit this red button, hit OK in the corner, and now the video is going up to Google Drive, it's processing, and it's going to dump right onto these slides. I'll just resize it and drop it into box 1. And this can take anywhere between 10 to 15 seconds. It depends on your internet connection. These things tend to drop in fairly quickly when I use this tool. So now I would just duplicate this process for slide 2 and slide 3 and slide 4 for the various parts of the video series. So I think using this technique, we don't have to create the whole Russian Revolution video series from scratch. We can just kind of break it up into smaller chunks, and then I'll add our insight or like really close kind of directed teacher connection. So here's the video. Just going to shrink this down, drop this into box 1. That's where I want students to start. And there you have it. That's what the experience will look like. Now, like I said, in the third workspace here, you might put specific questions or prompts or ideas. If you wanted to, you could also link to additional resources if that was necessary, readings or slides or anything you might want to provide students. So that's the whole process of taking existing YouTube content, breaking it into smaller chunks, adding kind of contextual or really like personal teacher video into the experience to guide students on their way. So what I'll do with this template, I'll add it below in the description so you can make a copy of the template and then modify it as needed. I'll also put a link to Record to Slides. So I hope this helps and this gives you a little bit more confidence and maybe even minimize the work time necessary to integrate video into your classroom with using this template, existing YouTube video, and then little personal video snippets by the educator with Record to Slides. So good luck. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.